revealed, for a stranger's shocking encounter with a billionaire uncovers an incredible hidden truth. The clatter of dishes echoed in Tony's diner, as four everyday lives were about to intertwine in an unexpected way. Jake, Sarah, Clara, and Marcus, each wrestling with their struggles, sat in worn booths that had borne witness to countless dreams and disappointments. But they had one thing in common, an invisible weight that pressed down, fueled by the town's slow decline. They were just another group of small-town folks when one day, the air crackled with talk of a wealthy billionaire who had set his sights on their struggling Midwestern community. "Did you hear?" A voice rose above the noise the local gossip, Marie. "He wants to revitalize the whole place. Build hotels and fancy restaurants." The excitement built, but the undercurrent of resentment simmered just beneath. "Like we need another rich guy coming in to save us." Jake, a laid-off factory worker, felt a tightness in his chest. "What do they know about us?" he mumbled. "Can't walk a mile in my shoes." Sarah, juggling her two small children while working two jobs, turned to him, her eyes weary, yet sparkling with hope. "Maybe this could help, but what if it goes wrong?" Clara, a kind-hearted retiree whose laughter faded like the wallpaper in her living room, offered a warm smile that didn't quite touch her eyes. "Change is scary. But we can't stay invisible forever." And Marcus, a young veteran carrying memories heavier than his pack, nodded quietly. "I just want a place to call home again." As their conversation deepened, the diner filled with a familiar warmth, but also a palpable tension. They were trapped between hope and fear, unsure if this billionaire was a savior or just another player in a game they couldn't afford to lose. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. After a tumultuous town hall meeting, they found themselves face to face with the billionaire. His suit, though polished, couldn't hide the shadows under his eyes. When he spoke, there was raw honesty in his voice, a story of loss, of being written off by a world that only saw his wealth. "I grew up poor," he shared, the flicker of vulnerability breaking through his bravado. Suddenly, Jake felt a tremor in his anger. His heart softened. Sarah's worries faded a shade, and even Marcus felt the ghosts of his past begin to whisper in understanding. The moment hung thick in the air, as if the diner itself held its breath. They realized his scars mirrored their own, and perhaps this wasn't just about wealth. It was a chance to rebuild their shattered dreams. But what next? With change looming, Jake stood at the helm, ready to embrace hope, but scared of what it might cost. Could they learn to bridge the divide of wealth and hardship, or let their fears shackle them back to their old lives? As whispers grew in the diner, Jake felt the pulse of uncertainty tighten. Little did they know, just as unity seemed possible, shadows of sabotage were already creeping into their plans. The next morning, the sun broke over the horizon, casting a warm glow on the small town. Jake stepped out of his modest home, the crisp air filling his lungs with a sense of new beginnings. The clock was ticking. The community meeting promised excitement, but what if it also sparked conflict? He could almost feel the weight of possibility pressing against him. As he approached Tony's diner, a familiar sight greeted him. Sarah was already there, her hands wrapped around a cup of coffee as she gazed out the window. She seemed lost in thought, contemplating the changes ahead. Jake slid into the booth across from her. "How are you feeling about today?" "Honestly?" she sighed, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "I don't know. I want the town to thrive, but something feels off. Are we ready for this kind of change?" Ready or not, Here it comes, Jake replied with a small, nervous laugh. Just then, Clara entered, her usual vibrant energy slightly dampened. She carried an old newspaper under her arm. You won't believe what I found, she said, unfolding it on the table with a flourish. Stories of other towns that tried this, and failed. Big developers promised prosperity, and instead, they left devastation. Sarah leaned in, her brow furrowing. What do they mean? Devastation? Clara tapped the article. They built their shiny hotels and fancy restaurants, but locals could never afford to use them. The rich came, spent their money, and soon left, while people like us got pushed out or left to fend for ourselves. Jake felt a tightening in his stomach. The fear Clara spoke of wrapped around him like a thick fog. What if they were getting wrapped up in dreams that would end up shattered? Suddenly Marcus entered, his presence as grounding as a stone. He joined the table, scanning their worried faces. What is going on? Sarah filled him in, and for a moment, the diner hung in silence. They were all staring at the newspaper, confronted by the reality of what could happen. After a moment, Marcus spoke quietly. Change is scary. But it can also be good. We're not just sitting here. We've gotta be involved, have a say. If we want this to work, we need to hold them accountable. Confidence surged in Jake. He nodded, yeah. We need to make our voices heard. We can't let anyone sweep us aside or dismiss our concerns. The three exchanged determined glances, their fears momentarily quelled by a budding sense of purpose. Let us organize, Clara proposed. We can gather our neighbors, share our thoughts, and make a plan before the meeting. As plans were hatched, a sense of camaraderie filled the air like steam from hot coffee. They began sketching out strategies and ideas, each of them bolstered by the connection forming between them. It felt empowering, like they were weaving their futures together plank by plank. Yet deep down, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were still missing something. Beneath the surface, a whisper of danger stirred. Would their unity be enough to weather the inevitable storms? Just as they thought they were taking steps forward, something much darker loomed. The diner bell chimed, and a figure strolled in, one that would change everything again. Was it a friend or foe? As laughter and uncertainty mingled in the air, Jake's heart raced. Something told him the next hour would bend their fate. What awaited them when the meeting began? Jake's heart thudded in his chest as the figure turned to face them. The striking red coat and dark sunglasses made it look like a movie star had just stepped into their small-town diner. Everyone paused, eyes glued to the newcomer, who walked deliberately towards their booth. As the figure drew closer, a familiar, cold smile broke across the face beneath the sunglasses. It was Evelyn Morgan, a billionaire developer known for transforming towns overnight with mixed results. "Hello, everyone," she said, her voice smooth and confident. "I couldn't resist stopping by. I heard there's a big meeting today." Clara's expression hardened. "And what is a developer like you doing here?" Evelyn chuckled lightly, but there was a distinct edge to it. "Just curious, Clara. I like to know what the future holds for my projects, and the people affected by them." Jake could see the worry in Sarah's eyes, as Evelyn leaned in closer, the warmth from her smile not reaching her cold gaze. "You've all rallied around this idea of community, haven't you? But can you honestly say you're ready for real change? Change can be," she paused to give them a meaningful look, "messy." "We're not afraid of change," Jake replied, forcing the confidence in his voice. "But we want to make sure it benefits everyone, not just you and your investors." Evelyn arched an eyebrow, her smile never wavering. "You're sweet to think you can control that." She leaned back, casually taking a sip from her coffee, as if their future was a mere game to her. As tension hung in the air, Marcus spoke up. "We've seen what has happened in other towns. We don't want to be pushed aside while you profit. We're not just a part of your business model." "Very commendable," Evelyn said, her eyes glinting with intrigue. But tell me, what is your plan? To gather everyone in protest? To complain loudly? These things rarely get results. People like me have the means to take what we want. The group exchanged anxious glances as Clara mustered the courage to ask, "And what do you want from us, Evelyn?" "Your agenda isn't hidden like your motives." The billionaire leaned forward once more, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. "You might be surprised. I might actually have something to offer you." A ripple of disbelief traveled through the group. "What could you possibly offer us that would come without strings attached?" Jake frowned, his heartbeat quickening. "An opportunity," she replied, her eyes sparkling with something both inviting and sinister. "If you want to be part of this town's future, you need to think bigger. Let me help guide it. For a price, of course." The offer hung heavy in the air, leaving Jake's mind racing. What was the price of accepting a deal with someone like Evelyn? Would it thrust them into a future of prosperity, or doom them to be outcasts in their own home? As their eyes darted between one another, the stark realization hit. They were at a crossroads, and the meeting they had prepared for felt transformed by this unexpected twist. The stakes were higher now, and the shadows of the past surged in Echo Valley surrounding them. Jake stood up, his resolve solidifying. "No matter what you offer, we're deciding our future here. Not you." Evelyn tilted her head, amused. "Ah, but are you truly ready to fight for it?" With a lingering glance, she sauntered out, the bell ringing again as the door swung closed behind her. The diner fell into a heavy silence, punctuated only by the clinking of coffee cups. Shaken but fueled by the adrenaline of confrontation, Jake knew they had to rally everyone before the meeting. He could almost feel the weight of their town's fate resting on their shoulders. But was this outburst enough to take a stand against a force like Evelyn? As they gathered their thoughts, a chilling realization unfolded. Were they prepared not just to raise their voices, but to unearth the secrets buried beneath their town's secrets even Evelyn might want to keep hidden? What truth would they discover when they dug deeper? The bell over the diner's door rang softly, the sound filled with lingering tension long after Evelyn had left. Jake felt the silence settle around them like a heavy cloud. Clara rubbed her temples, her eyes darting nervously between the group. The fear in her expression wasn't just for their town. It was fear of change itself, the prospect of confronting someone as powerful as Evelyn. "Okay, so what is the first step?" Jake asked, trying to rally their spirits. "We need to get everyone together, share what just happened. There's no point in hiding from who she is." "That is easier said than done," Marcus replied. He leaned back, crossing his arms, as if shielding himself from the weight of the conversation. "People in this town aren't going to just accept that another one of us stood up to her. They remember what happened last time." Sarah, who sat quietly throughout the exchange, suddenly spoke. "But we also remember what she did to those other towns. We can't let our story be the same." Her voice was steady, filled with determination. Across the table, Jake saw a flicker of hope in her eyes, the kind that could ignite a fire in others. "Let us call a meeting," Clara suggested, tapping her fingers nervously on the table. "Invite everyone. We have to ensure no one feels isolated in this. They need to know there's a choice to stand up or to sit back and let it all happen to them." As they strategized, a spark ignited in Jake's chest. The very air of the diner felt thick with purpose. He pushed away from the table and stood, looking at the group with resolve. "Evelyn thinks she knows us. But she doesn't know how strong we can be together. Let us share our thoughts, our fears, and our history. Every one of us deserves a voice in shaping the future of Echo Valley." The group exchanged determined looks, nodding in agreement. There was strength in their solidarity, and the collective fear started transforming into a rallying cry. Jake grabbed his phone and started crafting a message, making sure to emphasize the importance of unity, and the urgency that Evelyn's visit had introduced. "Meet tonight at the town hall," he wrote quickly. "We need to stand together, address what is at stake, and discuss what we want for our community as future." As he hit send, the adrenaline coursed through him. But his heart sank just a moment later. What if they were standing against an unstoppable force? The thought lingered, heavy and suffocating, but it was overshadowed by the strength he sensed building among his friends. "Jake, do you think Evelyn's offer holds any truth?" Marcus asked, genuine concern in his voice. "What if she has resources that might actually help us?" The question hung in the air, unsettling and unanswerable. Jake turned to Marcus, seeing the hesitation in his eyes. "Then we'll figure out a way to take what is valuable and leave behind the chains she tries to bind us with. We can't let ourselves be pawns in her game." The dim light of the diner suddenly felt brighter. They were more than the sum of their fears. They were a group of people faced with unimaginable threats, but driven by love for their home. As the meeting time approached, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of a revelation, a line that could lead them to uncovering every secret Evelyn sought to keep hidden. But what depths would they need to plunge into? What truths lay buried beneath the town's facade? Are we really ready for whatever we find? Jake muttered, uncertainty creeping back in. As they stepped out into the evening air, the tension palpable, it was clear the night held more than just a meeting. It promised a confrontation with the past, the present, and what lay ahead. Would the truths they uncovered be their salvation or their doom? The town hall loomed ahead, a place that had seen its fair share of stories, weddings, farewells, and now, perhaps, a battle for their future. Jake's heart raced as he pushed open the doors. A few familiar faces were already gathered, murmuring amongst themselves. The air was thick with unspoken worries and cautious glances, the weight of their task heavy on each shoulder. "Hey, everyone!" Jake called, stepping forward as more townsfolk trickled in. He could see Clara and Sarah near the front, leaning in close, their eyes filled with determination. He felt a spark of hope. It was just the beginning. "Thanks for coming," he continued, letting his voice fill the room. "I know we're all feeling uneasy after Evelyn's visit, but we're here because we care about Echo Valley, and we owe it to ourselves to speak up." There was a murmur of agreement, and Jake could sense the energy shifting. The mingled voices of hope and fear became a chorus of resolve. As he looked out at their faces, a patchwork of age, experiences, hopes, and dreams, he realized they were more than just neighbors. They were a community, bound by a love and a history that could not be easily torn apart. Clara took a step forward, her voice shaking but strong. "We've seen how Evelyn has treated other towns. We can't let that happen to us. We have to stand together." The fear in her voice rang true, but it was matched by a fierce longing for change, a deep desire for their home to thrive without losing what made it special. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "But how? It's one thing to be brave in theory, another to actually take a stand. What do we do if she comes back with more tricks up her sleeve?" His apprehension was palpable, yet it invited an important conversation. Jake took a breath, recalling the feeling of having each of them at his side. "Let us think of Evelyn's visit as a wake-up call," he said. "We need to tell our story, our true story. Let us shine a light on what she could take from us if we let her." Sarah's eyes sparkled. "Yes. We need to let people know about the investments she has made elsewhere. Maybe her power lies in fear, but we can counteract that with knowledge." A ripple of energy surged through the crowd. They were rallying around her idea. As they tossed thoughts around, it became clear that the depth of their history held rich stories, tales that could lift them as much as they could warn. Clara spoke of her grandmother's garden, a testament to perseverance, while Marcus shared the resilience of the local business owners. Each story was a brick in a wall of unity, pushing back against Evelyn's encroachment. Minutes turned into hours, filled with fervent conversations about memories, hopes, and plans that wove them closer together. Each voice added color to the canvas of their community, slowly transforming uncertainty into determination. Jake couldn't help but feel the fire growing inside him. What if we put together a community event? A festival showcasing our strengths, our stories, a solidarity in our fight against what threatens us. Mumbles of interest spread like wildflowers in spring. Let us empower each other first, Clara said, a smile breaking over her face. And we can draw in those who feel lost. Together, we can show Evelyn that she can't break us. As agreement filled the room, Jake felt a swell of pride. Standing shoulder to shoulder, they were ready for the fight. But deep down, a flicker of nervousness still gnawed at him. Would it be enough? Would Evelyn strike back with more than just words? By the end of the night, plans had been laid, courage ignited, and they stepped into the cool night air with newfound strength. Laughter and chatter echoed down the empty streets, a sign that hope thrived among the shadows. But as Jake turned back toward the town hall one last time, unease crept in again. What if their unity wasn't enough? What deeper secrets lay within, waiting to be uncovered about Evelyn's intentions? The night was just beginning, its undiscovered truths whispered ominously in the shadows. What shocking revelations would they soon have to face? Morning light streamed through the windows of the town hall, casting long shadows across the floor. Jake awoke that day with a gnawing urgency. He pulled on his jacket, still buzzing from the plans of the night before. The festival idea pulsed in his mind like a heartbeat, a rallying cry he couldn't ignore. He was determined to make it happen. Stepping outside, he was struck by the quietness in Echo Valley. The chatter of the previous night felt like a distant echo now. People walked with purpose, but their eyes carried the weight of unanswered questions. Jake spotted Clara by the cafe, scribbling notes in a notebook. "Clara!" he called, quickening his pace. "Did you start organizing the event?" Her face lit up with a mix of excitement and concern. "Yes. I've been thinking about what we can include: local artists, food stands, maybe even storytelling sessions." "But," she hesitated, frowning slightly, "what if Evelyn tries to do something to undermine us?" Jake swallowed hard. "We can't let her intimidate us. This festival could be our moment. A place for everyone to share their stories and their strength." Clara nodded, though doubt flickered in her eyes. "You're right. But we need more people on board. We have to reach out to the entire community." That was the spark Jake needed. "Let us prepare flyers and canvass the town. We can put up banners and invite everyone to contribute." The thrill of action surged through him. Together they were learning how to stand against Evelyn's looming threat. As they moved through town, they gathered others who shared their vision. Sarah joined them, her enthusiasm contagious. "What if we create a social media page?" she suggested. "People can share stories online before the festival. We can spread the word quickly." "Great idea." Marcus chimed in, finally coming out of his shell. "Let us make sure to include testimonials about how this valley has shaped us. We need to show those outside our community what's at stake." Inspired, they spent the day brainstorming ideas, their laughter filling the air. But as night fell, the celebration of their hard work left unease in their hearts, for shadows loomed. With each shared laugh came darker thoughts of Evelyn's power. The next morning, they met early at the cafe, maps and flyers laid out in front of them. Clara tapped her pencil against the table nervously. "Okay, who should we approach first?" Jake looked out the window at the townsfolk bustling about. "Let us start with the small businesses. They all understand the significance of keeping our community intact. If we can get them involved, others will follow." As they set off, knocking on doors and stepping into shops, the response was more supportive than he could have hoped. Each story of resilience encouraged another. Proprietors shared tales of their struggles and successes, weaving them into the fabric of Echo Valley's history. In their unity, the fire grew. Yet, as they began to feel the momentum build, Jake received a message that chilled him to his core. Evelyn had been spotted in town, her sleek car parked outside the bakery. "We need to gather everyone," he urged, heart pounding. "She is going to make a move. We can't let her surprise us." Determination surged through the group. They rallied those nearby, quickly organizing an impromptu meeting at the cafe. It was time for the community to band together, face the threat head-on, and remind Evelyn of the strength that lay within them. As they readied themselves, Jake wondered what strategy Evelyn would use this time. Would she try to discredit them, or would she bring her wealth to deter their spirit? The unknown left a knot in his stomach, a foreboding feeling that couldn't be shaken. Then he caught Clara's eye, her expression steely with resolve. They had a plan, a purpose, and a community that believed in them. But would it be enough? The moment of confrontation was upon them. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. The festival could either be a stepping stone to reclaiming their town or a battleground where their unity would truly be tested. What shocking tactic would Evelyn employ, and how would their tightly knit community respond? The answers were waiting just around the corner. Inside the cafe, the air crackled with tension. Jake stood at the front, a feeling of urgency coursing through him. Chairs scraped against the floor as people, young and old, gathered, their faces drawn with worry yet flickering with hope. Clara, standing beside him, clasped her hands tightly, her determination radiating like a lighthouse beacon in a storm. Jake took a deep breath, glancing around at his friends and neighbors. "Thank you all for coming. We need to talk about what just happened." A murmur rippled through the crowd. "Evelyn is back. She is not just here to watch, she is here to claim power. But we're not going down without a fight. This festival is our chance to show her that we matter. Every one of us matters." His words ignited a spark. Faces brightened, shoulders squared. Sarah jumped in, Wolfgang's Bakery, and the Craft Nook have agreed to donate their goods. Once we announce it, more will follow. "Yeah," Marcus added, his voice strong now. "We need to set up a meeting with all the businesses. If we unite, we can drown out her influence." The energy surged like a tidal wave of determination. Yet, as the conversation swirled, Jake felt a sense of foreboding creep in, that familiar knot tightening in his stomach. Evelyn would not just sit back and watch. She had a way of turning the tide, of twisting narratives in her favor. What if Clara's voice sliced through the buzz, drawing everyone's focus back to her? What if she tries to pit us against each other? Spread rumors? We know she is powerful enough to manipulate situations as she pleases. Jake felt a shiver race down his spine at her words. She could. She has done it before, and she could do it again, he admitted, swinging his gaze around the room. But if we're prepared for that, if we can show her that we will not be turned against one another, we'll stand tall. A quiet resolve filled the cafe as they began to brainstorm protection strategies. They decided on creating a task force, a group dedicated to monitoring rumors, spreading the truth, and counteracting any divisive tactics. Clara stood, her eyes dancing with passion. "We can make flyers, but not just for the festival. We need to spread the word about our mission to protect the community from her influence." Conversations, social media, loudspeakers in front of the town square, anything. Cheers erupted, the walls buzzed with ideas. But just then, the door swung open with a jangle that sliced the air. Evelyn stepped inside. She was dressed impeccably, every inch of her radiated confidence. Her presence commanded the space, silencing the camaraderie in an instant. "Is this a meeting for lost souls?" she purred, scanning the room with a chilling smile. I hear you all have some plans for a festival. How quaint. A wave of fear washed over Jake, but he clenched his fists. We have plans for our community, Evelyn. Not your playground. Evelyn's smile faltered for a moment, revealing a flicker of irritation. Oh, but don't you see? I can assist with that little festival. After all, who doesn't love a little charity? It could use a touch of sophistication if you want people to actually come. The group erupted in whispers, faces conflicted. Would this be an offer to unite, or just another ploy to undermine them? His heart raced as Jake stepped forward, a surge of bravery pulling him closer. We don't need your help. Our community thrives on its own strength, not on your charity. Evelyn's eyes narrowed, a curtain of menace slipping over her carefully crafted facade. Be careful, dear Jake. You never know where your pride will lead you. I have ways of unveiling the truths you might not want exposed. Her words hung heavy in the air. Jake felt the tension build, every muscle in his body tightening. The confrontation had just begun, and with Evelyn's threat looming above them, the stakes had never been higher. As she turned to leave, a chilling smile on her lips, Jake felt the fear in the room swell. But alongside it, a fierce determination ignited. They had to act fast, united, or risk losing everything. What hidden truths would Evelyn expose? And how far would Jake and his friends go to protect their community? The answers were buried deep, just waiting to be uncovered. The air hung thick with uncertainty as Evelyn's presence faded from the cafe. The vibrant energy that moments before had sparked hope now lay shrouded in a chilling silence. Jake's heart raced, thoughts tangling in his mind. Clara's hand found his arm, squeezing it lightly, as if trying to anchor him in the storm brewing within. Jake, Clara whispered, her voice a shaky thread. What if she really does know something? What if she has some dirt on us? Jake met her gaze, seeing the flicker of fear in her eyes. Even if she has something, we can't let her scare us. We can't let her divide us. Around them, people exchanged glances, an electric mixture of resolve and worry swirling among the crowd. Jake could see the indecision tugging at the edges of their unity. Those whispers began again, quieter this time, uncertainty lingering in their voices, like clocks ticking toward an inevitable crisis. Marcus stepped forward, breaking the tension with an emphatic clapping of his hands. All right, everyone. We stick to the plan. We have to show her we're united, no matter what she tries. Right. Sarah echoed, her voice cutting through the haze. We have to make our thoughts known. Let's put Evelyn in her place by focusing on our purpose. The festival is about community, not her. The group murmured in reluctant agreement, minds wrestling with the weight of Evelyn's words, while trying to grasp their own fragile empowerment. Clara chimed in, her voice taking on that passionate edge again. Let us get those flyers made and spread the word. We can't act like we're scared. She wants us divided, and we need to prove her wrong. Jake took a deep breath, trying to shield himself from the creeping doubt. Okay, let us break into teams, he suggested, the urgency flooding back. We need to strategize how we can reach the whole town. Let us meet back here tomorrow to share ideas. We won't let her crush our spirit. One by one, faces lightened with determination. They forged into smaller groups, voices rising as they split off, planning their comeback. It felt good to reclaim their energy, to capture that fleeting ember of unity before it could be extinguished. Yet as they left the cafe, a nagging worry lingered in the back of Jake's mind. What secrets did Evelyn hold? What truths lurked in the shadows, waiting to be unleashed at the worst moment? The deeper he thought, the more restless he felt. He glanced at Clara beside him, her expression a complex tapestry of focus and unease. Do you think we can really do this? He asked, the vulnerability spilling out before he could catch it. Her eyes softened, and she smiled, despite the uncertainty. We have each other, Jake. And that's what matters most. If we stand together, we can't lose. But we have to be clever. We need to know our strengths. The tension in his chest eased slightly. Together, they could weather the storm. The next morning, the sun rose bright, illuminating the town that had always stood resilient against adversity. Yet Jake woke with a palpable sense of urgency, the weight of the unknown pressing down on him. He quickly gathered his notes, eyes scanning the text until one sentence jumped out: "Knowledge is power." He knew what he had to do. Before meeting the others, Jake decided to dig deeper into Evelyn's past, hoping to unravel her potential hold on the community. What he discovered could be the key to turning the tides in their favor. Just as he set out, his phone buzzed with a notification. It was a message from Clara. It read, "Jake, we need to talk. Urgent. I found something about Evelyn. Meet me at the park ASAP." A knot of anxiety twisted in his stomach as he raced out the door. As he sprinted toward the park, dread crept in like a shadow. What had she stumbled upon? And how would it change everything? Time was slipping through his fingers, and with it, the chance to outmaneuver Evelyn. With each step, he wondered, how far would she go to protect her secrets, or to crush their fight even further? Jake dashed through the streets, the morning air crisp around him. His mind raced faster than his legs, thoughts colliding like bumper cars at the fair. What could Clara have found? He pushed open the park gate, the cool metal clanging behind him. The usual sounds of laughter and rustling leaves felt muted, as if the world held its breath, waiting for him to arrive. Spotting Clara near the old oak tree, her usual meeting spot, he rushed over, heart pounding with expectation. Her face was flushed, her eyes wide with urgency. "Jake, you made it," she said, barely catching her breath. "What did you find?" he urged, the words tumbling out impatiently. Clara pulled a folded piece of paper from her pocket, her fingers trembling slightly. "I went to the library. I thought it might help if I looked into Evelyn's past, something that could take the wind out of her sails." She unfolded the paper, revealing newspaper clippings. Jake leaned in closer. "What is this?" She pointed to an old headline, "Evelyn Hart, the controversial deal that changed our town forever." The photograph alongside it depicted a younger Evelyn, her smile bright, but the tension around her eyes hinted at something darker. She was involved in this massive development project years ago. It split the community and lined her pockets at the expense of others. People around here never forgave her. His stomach dropped. "So, she is not just a community member. She is a villain in their eyes?" "Exactly," Clara replied, her voice steadying with the clarity of revelation. "It made headlines, Jake. Families were devastated. They lost homes. And right after, she left town for years. Only came back recently when people thought they could trust her." Jake felt a surge of resolve building in him. This could be what we need. If we expose her for who she really is, maybe we can rally everyone together. "But be careful," Clara cautioned, her tone now grave. "She can be ruthless. Remember the fear she instilled when she walked into the cafe? She won't back down without a fight." Jake nodded, determination coursing through him. "We have to decide what to do with this information. We can't let fear tether us." Clara smiled, sensing the shift in him. "That is the spirit. We need a strategy." Just then, the moment was punctured by an unexpected voice. "Hey! What are you two scheming over here?" Marcus approached, curiosity bubbling in his eyes. His casual grin faded as he noticed the serious expressions on Jake and Clara's faces. "What did I miss?" Before they could answer, a loud crack boomed through the park, interrupting the moment. The sound echoed, reverberating through the air like a thunderclap. They all turned to see an older woman, Mrs. Hamilton, standing with a look of shock on her face. "Did you hear? Evelyn is holding a meeting today. She wants to talk about the festival. Jake's heart raced. When? Right now, she shouted back, her voice urgent with the weight of impending chaos. What does she have planned? Clara asked, concern etched on her brow. Jake's mind whirled. They could either confront her head-on armed with this new knowledge, or they could lay low, waiting to see how Evelyn intended to manipulate everyone at the meeting. The decision twisted in his gut, weighing his choices against unpredictability. Let us go, he declared, adrenaline surging through him. As they hurried to the meeting, a thought crossed Jake's mind. Would exposing Evelyn's past really protect them, or put them in even greater danger? With each hurried step toward the community center, he felt the stakes rise. The meeting was about to begin, and they had to be ready for whatever Evelyn had in store. What if this meeting was her masterstroke, meant to counter any whispers of dissent before they could gain momentum? The community center buzzed with an anxious energy as townsfolk filtered in, filling the room with murmurs and concerned glances. Jake's heart thudded in his chest as he stood at the entrance with Clara and Marcus. The anxiety in the air felt heavy, thick, and tangible, almost choking off the hope they had fought so hard to build. Evelyn stood at the front, confident and poised, a stark contrast to the simmering tension among the gathered crowd. She flashed a smile that barely touched her cold eyes, an ice queen surveying her subjects. Jake caught a glimpse of Sarah in the crowd, clutching a flyer, her expression warily scanning the room. We can't let her take control of this, he whispered to Clara and Marcus, determination flashing in his eyes. As Jake dared to step further into the center of the room, Evelyn's gaze shifted towards him, a predatory delight flashing across her expression. Ah, our brave community leader has arrived, she said, her tone almost mocking. I hope you all are ready to act like adults today. She began her presentation, showcasing lavish plans for the festival, emphasizing nothing but glitzy facades and soaring profits. For a moment, her words were entrancing, painting a picture of grandeur, but Jake's resolve steadied him. They were at risk of losing so much more than just the festival. As she rattled off her promises, he could see some townsfolk nodding in appreciation, captivated by her charm. But Jake knew the truth hidden beneath the allure. He stole a glance at Clara, who returned an understanding nod. This was their moment. Heart pounding, he raised his hand, cutting through the pretense like a hot knife through butter. Excuse me, Evelyn. Could we talk about the past? Her interest piqued. Evelyn's smile faltered slightly, and the room shifted uncomfortably. What do you mean by that? She asked, a hawk fixated on its prey. People in this town remember what happened when you last put your stamp on things, Jake said, his voice steady and rising above the whispers. We won't be blindsided again. He stepped forward, eyes locked on hers. You think you can just swoop in and make promises that you probably won't keep? You have a track record, and it's not pretty. The tension thickened, the crowd buzzing with concern and intrigue. Clara stepped up next to Jake, holding the clippings like armor. Evelyn, people lost their homes in the past because of your decisions. Why should we trust you now? Evelyn's demeanor shifted, her confident facade cracking slightly. Everyone deserves a second chance, she retorted, but the tightness in her jaw hinted at deeper anger. And yet, it's the same old story, Marcus interjected. You come in, take what you want, and leave destruction in your wake. We won't let you do that again. The crowd erupted with murmurs of agreement, simmering defiance igniting in the room like wildfire. Jake felt the momentum shift, their collective fear transforming into something raw and powerful. More voices joined in as stories tumbled out, tales of loss and struggle, the echoes of forgotten dreams fighting to be remembered. Suddenly, from the back of the room, an older gentleman stood up, his brow furrowed. Evelyn, people don't just forget. I lost my family's business because of what you promised. I still don't know how to move on. His voice shook, and the mixture of anger and vulnerability hung in the air. "You think we're stupid enough to let you take what's ours again?" Clara shouted, the fervor fueling those around them. "We're done being pawns in your game." Evelyn's confidence wavered, her warm smile replaced with irritation, the cold fury behind her eyes surfacing like a wave crashing on shore. "You'll regret this," she hissed, but Jake felt ready to face the storm, their community rising together, forged tightly on principles of resilience. In that moment, the weight of history pressed against them like an anchor, but it was also a source of strength. "This isn't about fear anymore," Jake declared, surveying their resolute faces. "This is about making our voices heard and claiming what's rightfully ours. We choose hope over despair, community over division." As chants of agreement bubbled up, the air felt electric. They were no longer on the sidelines. They were part of something greater, a tapestry woven with heart and courage. And the truth of their unity resonated through the room. Evelyn stepped back, flustered, her carefully laid plans beginning to unravel. But she was never one to back down easily. "You'll pay for this," she warned, her voice venomous as she turned on her heel and stormed out of the building, her power sapped by collective strength. Cheers erupted in the community center as townspeople embraced one another, tears mingling with laughter and relief. Jake felt a rush of joy and triumph, their unity shining brighter than the sun itself after a long storm. The festival would happen, but it would be more than just a celebration. It would be a declaration of defiance against the shadows that threatened to overtake them. Jake, Clara, Sarah, and Marcus stood tall amidst the crowd, hearts full of hope and eyes brimming with determination. "We did it!" Clara exclaimed, gleefulness dancing in her voice. "We showed her our truth. From this point forward, we stand united," Jake said, feeling the warmth of their defiance filling him with purpose. "This is just the beginning." As the day unfolded, laughter echoed through the community, an indelible reminder that they had transformed fear into strength. They had weathered the storm of hidden truths and emerged with a newfound light. Jake realized then how powerful the bonds of community truly are, the irreplaceable strength intertwined with shared history and dreams. And as they left the building, he knew they were ready to face whatever came next, knowing they had the power to shape their future. As you celebrate this conclusion, don't forget to take action. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now, because it feeds the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this amazing ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.